Hello and welcome back, friends, as we are here to continue on. We've had an extremely eventful start to the broadcast and hoping that this next one can be just as well. As we've got Butler University versus Marquette University. I am Rich Rad, and once again here with Shinkari as we are going to get the excitement underway shortly. And I mean, Shinkari, I'm still recovering from that first,
Yeah.
series that we just had.
Yeah, I mean Villanova definitely showed up today. I mean it was definitely a game where Georgetown had it gave us so much excitement in the early game with so many clutch kills, so much early aggression, and then Villanova was just like, "Don't worry, we got you in the second half. Don't worry about
Mhm.
it." It was a very good come from behind victory both times by putting all their once again putting their eggs into that late game basket, playing safe, playing conservative, and then the second they got their power spike, they immediately turned it around and were able
Mhm.
to clutch out victories in both games. So, really hats off to Villanova, really starting the day off strong for sure. And now we're taking a look over to Butler and Marquette, both
Mhm.
of which, once again, not really having the best of week number ones here, but really looking to put themselves on the scoreboard. Start off with some of their season with a W somewhere
Mhm.
along the line, but only one of these teams is going to come out victorious today. So we'll have to see how this is going to go down.
We're looking to enter into the picks and bans as now we do have Rumble being selected here by Butler for the purse ban. Kind of a unique one that we don't typically see too much, but can be valuable. Could be something of a targeted pick as well. And even with a Vladimir being shortly after, I'm really curious to see if we're going to see the consistencies that came out from Marquette. They attempted to try and bring in this, Vigar usage, also having the chance to get the synergy, but with the Yasuo and the Diana previously in the week, where they did have a lot of synergy with it, but again, falling short in the grand scale of things. And I'll be curious to see if they want to try and get that dynamic duo once again to utilize for both Snicker along with Like Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely looking. I'm definitely having my eyes on Butler here. Butler has been an org, a school that has, and you can already kind of see it already, a very unified team front. They have a cohesive unit here
Mhm.
and a very strong in these 5v5 scenarios. We even saw when Mac and Sir Aaron were on the team. Once again, they were all always practicing as five. They even changed their summoner names to have Butler in the name as well. And
Mhm.
last week they were playing some pretty aggressive team compositions, but it didn't exactly play out to the way they'd like. So their first pick here is going to be the Thresh.
Okay.
Definitely a very powerful support pick that's been played recently. And it'll signal to me that they're probably not going to experiment with the double smite. But anything can happen at this stage. Thresh, once again, very good lock in here. A little different from what Mojo Roma was playing last week, but still a very strong pick regardless. Let's see how Catharjo wants to lock with that as we see Vigar locked in for like Zach here. And
Mhm.
see how they want to go with the support here because they are hovering the Soraka.
Yeah, that is something that would be interesting because, like you mentioned, it was specifically Mojo Romo that was going more for the Enchanter pickup for that support role, but this time looking more so for the engagement. The Thresh is going to be a really great pickup if they can find something that's synergistic. Typically, we see it combined more so with the, Aphelios, which doesn't have a lot of escape. That's also been a little bit more valuable, even in competitive play that we've seen more. But there's actually going to be a lock in here for the Olaf, also seeing a lot of competitive play as well. And if you can get a nice death sentence, that can synergize well to close the gap for this Olaf play to just completely shred through your health values. Also, just having such a very significantly fast clear through the jungle phase, too.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm predicting a full clear from the Olaf. Okay, Ezreal's going to be locked in. I think that's a pretty
Okay.
safe bot lane here. Nothing like too super synergistic here. It's not like the Thresh Lucian that we saw in the previous game, but it's still relatively safe. Ezreal is always a pretty consistent AD carry. I struggle to find a meta where Ezreal was just bad to pick,
Mhm.
right? As long as Tear of the Goddess and Sheen exists in the game, Ezreal's probably going to be picked one way
Yeah.
or another. But the Trundle lock in here is actually not that good. So one
Yeah.
might take a look here and say, Olaf. Okay, if you're not 100% on your knowledge of League of Legends, you
Mhm.
might be like, oh, but there's Shinkari, there's an Olaf on the enemy team. He has a lot of HP. He's going to be building some resistances, and he's going to be charging out. There's going to be very easy for Trundle to ultimate and maybe even trap with the pillar. Doesn't have a lot of mobility, and I would be like, correct. But the problem is when Ragnarok is popped, he just loses all of his resistances and then can't be slowed.
Hmm.
So everything that Trundle tries to do against the Olaf in that situation is kind of nullified by the Ragnarok. He doesn't start gaining, doesn't, there's no resistances to steal
Hmm.
from Olaf, and then there's nothing to trap him in one side unless he's going through a very, very tight corridor somewhere on the map. So Trundle here, unless they're looking for the most disengaged comp ever for Marquette,
Hmm.
not really. I don't really know how to feel about it.
And you can see the final bands coming through: Camille, Graves, Gragas, and also Tom Kench. So we are going to have a little bit more focus in that top half, really, from all of those last 4 bands. As you can see, an Ornn coming through and being hovered over for that top lane position. Again, might be very valuable, but the set also I wouldn't be surprised by swapping between the two, and actually does finally lock in the Ornn, having more of that hard engage front line, looking for potential crowd control for the Horn of the Thorn. Gods just managing to get a decent stun. But on the return side, you could have potentially the set pickup since it was hovered over.
Yeah. I mean, set is definitely a good lock-in for Neckington Jr. here, who definitely likes those more aggressive top lanes. Graves and Camille, those bans from Marquette, were both of the top laners that Neckington Jr. played last week. So these are definitely some of the more powerful picks. He's definitely looking to be a lot more aggressive up in that top lane. Like Michael, or excuse me, like Zach will definitely be able to match that aggression with Ornn. Ornn is has a lot of deceptive damage thanks to a lot of the base damage from his passive. If he walks up and claps you after breathing fire on you, it's going to be really, really tough. But now we have a Gwen lock-in, which means this is a very flexible top half of the map. We could even see set roam around. We could even see Gwen in the jungle maybe, and maybe Olaf roam around, but I don't think that's going to happen. There are some cases where that might, but I don't think Olaf does well into either the mid or the top. But it is still going to be a ranged versus melee matchup in the mid lane regardless. So we'll have to see where this set is going to go and where this Gwen is going to go. But for the most part, these teams are locked in, and both of them are looking pretty good.
Yeah, Marquette's going to play this Veigar bot lane right now when it comes to the synergy with the Soraka. So, I mean, again, with the adjustment that came through for the Veigar, giving that reduction in cooldown on the Q, stacking up the AP, also with the ability to make that tank minion give the additional ability power proc on his passive, which makes it really, really great for the late game scaling, makes it snowball much sooner. And I'm really thinking that that's what they're going to look to focus to do. Soraka is going to be able to keep the sustainability for Mike, managing to keep poking and gaining those stacks, but also having some real potential to lock down multiple members, because you've got the cage that can come through. You also do have, you know, the silencing effect for, you know, preventing any sort of ability use for escapes onto the Ezreal, so they won't be able to, you know, be able to escape if it is procced on top of them. So there's a lot of synergy between the two, I think, that can work here for Marquette against this bot lane, which, as you mentioned, is a little bit more safe though with the Thresh and Ezreal.
Yeah, I mean, so the big thing for me here is that Marquette is just never going to fight you. It's just not going to happen. They have no big proactive plays to make. They're just waiting for Thresh to throw out a hook, and then Veigar's just like, Cage, run away. Like they got, like, Soraka isn't the most aggressive either. Now, granted, with her changes that she got a very, very long time ago, she does have to play a little bit more aggressive, especially if she's going to pick up a Spell Thieves. If she's looking to build that way, then that is going to, although the shield is probably a little bit better for her because it also gives her HP. Regardless, if she's looking to use that Spell Thief, then that's going to be something that they're going to have to play a little bit more forward. But for the most part, this Veigar does not want to fight Thresh, does not want to fight Ezreal, because Ezreal becomes a champion after buying a Sheen, and then once that happens, Veigar's to be like, please don't hit me, please just don't. I will cry.
The biggest thing I'm going to look for is Mojo Romo denying CS with that Q. Like, it's going to be absorbing a lot of those procs to prevent that ability gain and try and see if they can mitigate through that mechanic as well, so that they don't have, like Mike, just basically playing back and gaining stacks for free.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that I'm going to be looking at here, and maybe might be a good strategy here for this bot lane, is just having Catharjo and Mojo Romo just basically freeze the wave towards their half of the map, forcing this kind of reactive lane to push up super, super far, right? If they have to push super far in order to farm, in order to gain those Q stacks, then they're going to be very, very vulnerable to a gank from Voltade, right? They'll have the cage, right? But they'll have to choose, you know, where to place it. They either have, you know, against the Thresh or against the Olaf that's coming in from the jungle. They're going to have to force having Catharjo and Mojoroma freeze on their half might force, you know, a two-pronged attack that might be able to gain kills against the Vigar early, because you want to keep him away from the minion wave as much as possible, and that's the best way to do it, just to kill him. To take a look at the go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and also just curious to see how the Trundle's going to help influence that bot lane as well.
Right. If anything, I think that Trundle is going to be more useful towards the mid game. I did want to take a look at the rest of the map. I think the big thing for me that's actually a really cool synergy is that Trundle can place down a pillar, and then Ornn can just save his E, because he can ram into Trundle's pillar. Because it's another form of terrain. So they actually have this really cool. Marquette has actually drafted this really cool team that when it comes to team fights, they have basically a line of scrimmage, and it's really funny because they have Syndra too. And I was going to say this, they're basically playing dodgeball. If they are ahead and are able to get to objectives early, right? They're able to basically set up a line of scrimmage with the cage, with the pillars that they're able to make with the additional terrain they're able to make, that they can basically block off and control how Butler can approach these certain team fights. And in some cases they might have to, like, once again, that two-pronged attack I mentioned from the from bot lane, but now they have to do it in the river, right? Which might be able to lead Marquette to be like, okay, let's go this way. They'll be able to have choices of how they want to engage with these fights, right? But you know, if Marquette gets even a very small lead, or even is able to get to neutral objectives before Butler, it's going to be very, very hard for Butler to get into these fights and do a 5v5 fight, which is probably what they're looking for.
And the one thing that I really fixated on when you were just discussing through that is the word control. That is going to be a huge factor here for Marquette. If they are not able to really keep tabs on certain segments of the map, or how they utilize their utility and crowd control and control these angles and really dominate on certain objectives or outcomes, it will be easily punished by Butler.
Yeah, for sure. As now we see them doing the 5-man engage. This is actually something that we saw a lot from St. John's in the previous season, but now we're seeing a whole lot from Butler as well. And this is what I was talking about. They have a very coordinated team right here. They come in as a 5-man unit, and we saw this from Georgetown before, where Georgetown was just looking for a kill, and it wasn't until Ryuk was like, oh, I should probably place a ward here, right? Butler comes in with the idea of, we're going to just place vision and leave. And now look at the amount of vision that they have over the Trundle, right? They have the Raptor bush warded, they have the that top brush warded, right, as well. And Marquette answered perfectly. They're like, okay, we see the entire enemy team, we're going to ward all over their jungle as well. They have the Raptors warded, they have the Krugs warded, I believe, and then they have the exit to their own jungle warded. So they have a whole bunch. Both teams have very good vision and knowledge of the opposing junglers right now.
Yeah, they responded in kind, and that was one thing I was looking at very, very heavily with 2 of those wards being placed, so they do have knowledge of where the Olaf is rotating through. Nice early hook. This is going to be devastating. Force out a flash already. And Kaio is going to have to be extremely careful now, since they've already had to force out that summoner.
Yeah, this is definitely where you want to capitalize on this bot lane as much as possible, right? It's the early game. This is the same thing as the double enchanter. Excuse me. This is the same thing as the double enchanter lane from before.
Oh,
really good
no.
from Mojoroma.
Beautiful play. This is going to be an easy first blood in the pocket of Carthago on this Ezreal. And you mentioned it, they had to play it back, but honestly, easy exploitation coming in with this Mojoroma play.
Yeah, Mojoroma, very, very well-versed, a very good support player. Able to get this first blood for Ezreal means that they now are coming back to lane with a tier and double longswords, which means they should be able to finish that Manamune pretty quickly and be able to stack it up a lot easier. Even though Ezreal pretty much has a pretty easy time of stacking up the tier regardless. But this is still a lot of combat stats that once they come back to the lane, it's gonna be starting to push back towards them as well, because they do have a wave stacking up in Marquette's favor right now. So they're gonna come back to lane, and then they're gonna be able to basically do it again. But luckily for Marquette right now, Trundle is on the bottom half.
Ooh, I was gonna say that was real close. Almost got that stun landing through, as you're gonna have Voltage now rotate up to the top position. Does have a flanking opportunity. Zach is a little bit further forward, goes for the ghost, attempting to try and get the crowd control, but actually whiffs the axe, loses a little bit, and there's nobody to give assistance. Voltage now having to flee, but this rotation from Levi from the middle position is absolutely critical. First blood again was put on bot lane, and now you're actually gonna have a second coming up in this top position with a well-coordinated conversation amongst the team.
Yeah, Levi walked all the way up from mid lane there. Take a look. He still has that teleport available. So even if they want to make a play in this bot lane happen, even though teleport, you know, once again, is not as strong as it is later in the game, can still happen, right? Levi still has that teleport available, used it to come back to lane after backing in the top, and now it's like they never left.
And they also have a nice defensive pickup here, looking to try and reduce some of the magic damage that's going to come in. Again, being the melee into the ranged is always a challenge until you start getting to that level 6 position, and going into Syndra with the Scatter of the Week for nice crowd control can be also challenging. But as we take a look in this top position, once again, Zach now getting a nice exchange here. On to Junior, unable to really get a little bit more though, since there's still quite a bit of grit generated to keep this engagement, and still shoving the wave just slightly in favor of Butler.
Yeah, one item that I'm ooh, great.
Nice stun.
Great face breaker there from Neckington Jr. there, just on the tip. But I did want to mention that a pretty important item that's going to come out this game, because I do see a lot of magic damage for Marquette here. The new and improved Maw of Malmortius is an insane item right now that whilst that magic shield is on you, you do get a whole bunch of I believe it's spell vamp and lifesteal, or maybe it's just lifesteal, but it's still just a crazy amount of defenses that against this team will be very, very useful, especially if like Mike is able to get ahead, or even just very powerful. So being able to watch out for that later on is going to be very important here. We definitely see Butler. Take a look at where everyone is right now. Definitely orienting towards this Cloud Drake right now.
Seeing if they can try and get that early objective advantage, and again with Voltage having a really nice ability to clear that quickly. But since you do have Snicker MVP towards that bottom half, looking to potentially actually get some engagement. This is going to spell disaster though. With this collapse from the mid lane, it's going to be a 4 versus 3. They could be able to get a pickup here onto the Soraka again. Kaio needs to be very careful, but in the top position you do have the Showstopper coming through, managing to try and get that follow-up with the grit being not yet expended. Zach going for the flash, Facebaker onto the CS, and Zach does escape with their life.
Yeah, it was really, really close there, but I think Neckington Jr. comes out huge right here, because he's going to be able to heal up thanks to that passive from Set, and he's going to be able to grab a whole bunch of CS as well, maybe even some turret plates, because it's going to be a while before Marquette can really return to that top lane there. Look at where Trundle is right now, pathing their way up there, not really going to find what they're looking for, but Jerome not going to be able to land a hook down in the bottom lane here. But yeah, really, really good job by Neckington Jr. up in that top lane there.
I think so. Well, Voltage's going to try and just pass through this middle position. A little bit dangerous, though, as your half health Scatter of the Week doesn't actually land. Voltage getting hit, though. Couple of icicles come out as well, and you're going to be able to see a pickup. Nice job getting some decent advantage in this mid lane, so you can start stacking up to try and compete against this Gwen play.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Voltage just walked through mid lane, pure vision, with Geeked Bro having a pretty high mana bar, and just kind of ignored and thought Geeked Bro would just stay in lane. And Voltage was about half HP as well, so like I'm confused because they didn't have Prio in the lane either. It's not like Butler and Levi has some pretty low mana right now too, and it's not like Levi could just leave. So I'm confused as to why Voltage would make that play there. Seems, you know, very clearly communicated to the enemy team. It's just out of character, should I say.
It's where you maybe get a little full of yourself in the moment. the Olaf play starts to get into your mind, and I know he's
Yeah.
not in the skin, but you know, maybe he's just being a Broloff right now, going in
Yeah.
for it, being bro. I want to just play.
You can't arrest me. My dad owns a dealership.
Oh yeah, dude.
That is actually one of his quotes.
I know, it's amazing. It's an amazing quote.
Oh man. I mean, sometimes you do just get as what me and fellow World of Warcraft players like to call melee brain.
Yep.
Sometimes you're just like, ah, yes, I must go hit enemy. Sometimes you do just do that. Is Voltade looking to show some melee brain right now? Maybe. Uh-oh, here comes the horn.
I don't know about this, though. Has to force the Ragnarok out to prevent both the Scatter of the Weak and the stun from the Forge God. Able to escape, managing to bob and weave around that pillar as well. So nobody goes down. Nice couple of taps here onto that support position. And Carthago's going to start really hurting here.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when Ezreal picks a machine. Neckington, holy moly, it's just walking right at them.
Fearless. Fearless.
Did he just walk up slowly and then up smash?
Right? My
That seems
knuckles
like what's
are
about to
ready
happen.
and my right hand's ready for your face.
Yeah, I mean, but this is going to be a very clean pickup for Butler. After scaring Marquette away from the top half of the map, they are going to be able to pick up the Rift Herald here, which is going to go on to Voltade. I'll be interested to see where they drop that. I'm potentially looking at either mid or top because that already has a pretty big advantage, and unlocking those players to kind of like roam around the map will probably be very, very good.
Yeah, much more significant. I agree as well. I think that's going to be the focus. I would almost kind of lead a little bit more into the mid lane to try and put Gwen into an uncomfortable position. But, I mean, again, I'm not in the comms with them to know for sure, as we will wait to see what that outcome is. And in the bot lane, you can definitely see that Marquette's been playing a lot more patient here, trying to prevent any sort of hook from coming through. A little bit of a split between the two. Nobody walks into it, and they're just going to bail out and prevent themselves from getting capitalized on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what they need to be looking for here. Oh, stop the back with Carthago there. But yeah, I think they're just Vigar's coming back the lane. Okay. We're still partying.
I mean, at this point, stopping the back prevents that opportunity to regain the mana, and they don't want to lose out on this wave that's going to be under. That's almost a, it's just a full wave now. It was about a wave and a half, but they got a couple of pickups onto it, so they can't afford to lose out on that gold that is necessary, especially with it being a tank. And they're going to be able to clean it up, get a couple more stacks, and find themselves backing for a buy.
Yeah. As now, this is definitely a bit of a slower point. We do have Dragon spawning in about 30 seconds here. So I'm really going to be looking at both of these junglers and maybe the supports as well to see how they're going to be clearing vision and prepping for this next Drake. It does have Earth Drake is on the table, so that means it's either Ocean, Hextech, or Infernal Drake is going to be on the menu for the soul of this map, all of which are very, very good.
Attempting to drop down the cone in the river position to see if they can get a crown control MVP. Still playing in this bush. There's no vision here from Butler around it, especially because they've got that ward to remove any sort of intel. Nice dodge, though, by Levi as they rotate. They're just posturing for an engagement here. JR in the midst of the cage, having to try and make sure they don't get locked down for a follow-up. Now attempting to dive into it, looking to go for it. Go with a flash even for a face breaker. Forge coming through in the backside, getting a nice knock up onto 3. Marquette, despite them having very low health values, they're playing this so well in a narrow corridor. A box comes out. The control, as you mentioned earlier, is coming true. And Marquette manages to turn this around, just coming up shy from the ace.
Yeah, that was a really good start to the team fight, honestly, there from Butler. They just clumped up a little too much against both the Vigar and the Syndra there, who have some pretty strong AoE damage at this, even at this stage of the game as well. The big thing for me is that Butler made the right call to engage the second that the cage was down. The cage has a very long cooldown, so being able to capitalize off of that was very, very strong. But now we have the soul of the map available. The hex gates are open. So if you are just joining us for the first time, haven't seen League of Legends in a long time, you might see some dotted lines across the minimap right now. Those are the hex gates. They take you from point A to point B. They're in the corners of your base. They're around the buffs that go across from blue buff to the other side of the neutral objectives, and they are very, very cool. We'll definitely see some usage out of those this time round. We'll have to see how both teams utilize them as the game goes on, but as for right now, Carthago definitely looking for some cheeky stuff down in the bot lane there.
Yep, has the Essence Reaver completed, continuing to stack that Mirror Mana, feeling really, really confident now. And I mean, to piggyback off of your, Hextech portals, it's honestly the most interesting part is how they utilize them around both the Baron and the Drake. Do they opt to go for a flanking type of position? Can they look for some kind of backline engagement that's a little bit more favoritism? Or even just getting there quickly to drop a ward and then getting out and escaping with it?
Right. I mean, the last time that we saw them, there was a Talon on the team, and Talon is very, very good with the Hextech in order to get out, right? Once you're in with the Hextech, sometimes it's going to be very hard to get out, especially if you don't have vision of the other end, because it's going to be very hard to leave because any sort of damage stops the channel onto the Hextech gates. So that's going to be very careful to watch out. You can't just blindly go in there, but... Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Nobody saw that. Campfire emote indeed. Campfire emote indeed. Just having some marshmallows. At this point, they're just acknowledging, let's just say that nobody saw that.
yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. No, definitely no one saw it. No one. I definitely don't. I don't even know what happened.
No, I don't either. The only thing I saw was just teleporters graphic activating since we've reached that 14-minute marker. So that's one thing to really focus on to see how that's going to be available for those who do have it moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely going to be interesting. Now that there's 4 teleports available across the map right here, we're gonna have to watch how the teams can play, because it's important to watch these side lanes, because Set definitely plays side lanes very well, and Gwen definitely plays them even better. So playing these side lanes for Butler is going to be very important, especially with both their teleports up and how coordinated they've been playing so far.
I give Zach a lot of credit. Has been playing this matchup between the Set very, very well, understanding and reading Junior extremely competitively, and not allowing any sort of value to be gained in those trades.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking to be pretty strong right now, as Marquette looking to get some more value in this mid lane here, but might bite off a little bit more than they can chew. Channeling the Hex Flash, not going to grab anything over the wall, though.
Gets at least a little bit of denial in the vision, rotating up towards this top position to go towards that Rift Herald, and honestly trying to just focus on the objective at the moment, seeing if they can get it quickly before there is an adjustment from MVP. Is aware of it, though, and starting to maneuver quickly here with GeekBro. 4 stacked towards this top half of the river position, and now you're going to need to see Butler start to bail, because this is not a fight that they want to take.
Yeah, luckily the Forge God Horn is down, but they do still have Wish. They do still have the Syndra ultimate as well. They're even in terms of numbers. Carthago might look to steal. Oh, it was real close. I don't think he got it.
And there's a TP down to bottom position to make sure that they don't have Junior take down this turret. Again, plates have been eliminated, so they no longer get that extra gold. But again, trying to just really focus on top of this objective to open it up for bot lane to really give more agency to both Carthago and Mojo Romo.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking the swap that Butler did here, because the objective was on the top half of the map. They rotated their bot lane into this top lane, but Carthago taking so much damage underneath the turret there. I think it'll definitely be very easy to take this top lane turret. Ezreal is pretty good at doing those, especially with a Sheen item. But I definitely like that Neckington Jr. is in this bot lane here, because they don't need the duo, and there's no dragon to take there.
Now as they continue to try and push, you have Kaio trying to give some assistance here to Zach, but again, not really going to get too much, needing to be very cautious of their level differential. As you've got GeekBro looking to try and get a nice orb or 2 onto that mid laner. Levi just going to proc the immunity, making sure that they get out scot-free, rotate back into the lane, and continue to snip away at the rest of the CS.
Yeah, the problem right now is that Levi does have some decent damage, but they've spent so much mana in the lane right now that they have to back. Dragon just spawned, and take a look at how Marquette is moving right now. They have 4 members coming down here, and maybe Gwen backing will turn it into like even. Okay, they're teleporting into the top. Okay, they're just seeding the dragon. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was gonna say a numbers advantage will probably happen for Marquette, but with how quickly they were able to secure that, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening.
Nope. Now here's an opportunity to dive onto Junior, but a face breaker brings Mike into the mix, hit by the grit, and now the shield is dwindling. Junior having to flee, goes for the flash, exhaust onto it, trying to get that showstopper, but can't really get much damage onto it. Again, nobody there and not much of a high health. Facebreaker once again, Mike getting low. Lots of healing from the support play, and that's going to be a nice pickup here in the bot lane. Actually, Set's still alive because the assistance from Voltage rotating through. We were off cam, and I assumed the worst, but I was absolutely corrected.
Yeah, it was definitely really close. Neckington Jr. basically playing with fire and judging his positioning there really crucial, but look at where like Mike is right now. Very low mana bar here. Can't really stay in this lane, but Set doesn't have any mana, so it doesn't really have to worry about that. That passive is going to heal them up fairly easily, and now Set can just stay in this bottom half of the map and really put some pressure onto this bottom tier turret right here.
You can see also recognition of needing to reduce any sort of healing when you've got the Executioners calling. Again, nice read by Carthago again in a position of where they may not have a lot of kills, but they are really continuing to maintain with their CS across the map and this rotation. And mostly across the board here, you're seeing Butler play a better game as they've got 2K advantage in having that objective advantage.
Another thing I wanted to point out really quickly, and this is just like a very small point. I talked before about Butler having a very strong team synergy. They all have their boots in the second slot there, and they all have all their mythic items in the first. So shout outs to Butler, really coordinating their inventories here. Is Levi looking for Geek Bro in the top lane?
It's easy evaluation for us, but the evaluation at this moment in the top position, Stasis comes out. Geek Bro able to try and flash stun, evades for the time being, but a quick dash forward and the snip for 2. Secures that that's going to be a pickup for Levi on Butler once again.
Yeah, Levi showing that they're a cut above the rest, really coming out clutch on top of it. Yeah, you like that?
I like that. I'm going to steal that and use that next time.
Yeah, I mean, people will probably ask you to cut it out after a little bit, you know what I mean?
You know, now you've taken it too far, my friend.
No, I haven't.
I'm joking. It's like from Full House from years ago. Cut it out.
Cut it out.
Everybody that's old enough to know that, you're doing the hand gesture as well. So let's just ignore that moment.
God, this is like when I made the Friends reference last week, and you were like, "Oh, I get that reference."
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I will always forever have a special place for Friends in my heart, especially with Chandler and Joey's relationship.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. But as we get back into this game, instead of boring our audience with our age, one of the big things to really focus on is what's going to be coming up here soon. Taking stake of the overall macro of this. 1 minute and 46 seconds going to be up for this next Drake for them to try and focus it. They're approaching that Dragon Soul position. They've already had 2 in advantage favor of Butler. Also just evaluating where the resources are allocated for this team. As honestly, it's mainly just across the board here. Everyone has a plethora of gold, and it's not really in the pockets of one sole individual, because honestly the only bounties that are here are a 200 bounty on this mid laner from Levi and Carthago with 150.
Yeah, and most of it is just from being able to farm so much and just not die. I think that's the big thing, right? Like it's not like they've accrued like so many kills. It's just that they've been able to farm so much and just not die. Levi really just hanging out here. And now, this is definitely going to be something to take a look at, as now we have about a minute out from the next Hextech Drake spawn. It is important to note that that particular Dragon Soul is very powerful, right? It's going to be something that we're gonna have to take a look at, because it's a lot of AoE damage that's going to be able to go against Marquette here, against a team that is actually pretty safe as well. If Marquette clumps up, there's a whole lot of damage that they have a decent chunk already of AoE. You know, adding the Drake on top of that is going to be really tough for them to deal with. As now Levi might be caught out here, but I don't think anyone's able to truly capitalize on that.
And taking a quick pulse here of the summoners, Levi is the only one with a teleporter, so Junior is going to have to be away from this fight as the dragon comes up in 10 seconds. Gonna back now since they've shoved this position, so it does have the crash onto the tower in top lane. But they have to be very cautious of their positioning here, especially because the ward advantage is slightly in favor here of Marquette.
Yeah, and this is still a very hard team to engage on, right? They have Syndra, they have Vigar, and they have Trundle as well. So they need to make sure that if they go for the engage, that it is a relatively safe one. The last time this happened, Marquette was able to come out on top and grabbed an Earth Drake for themselves. The last time they fight around here, but there's the cage. This might be the go button for Butler.
Junior being completely mitigated by the pillar as well, but you've got Levi on the side, coming in with the immunity, has the needle works as well to try and follow up as it's going to be a double. Already into the pocket of Carthago, collapsing forward. MVP is dwindling in health. The cage buys some space as Voltade flees, but Mojo Romo comes in with a death sentence over the wall. The box is there. Butler continuing to push forward, and Mike, with no mana left, has the Everfrost to slow it down. Levi's just going to abandon ship. I'm not going for the ace, and we're just going to go back and take back that Drake.
Like Mike is the only person left on Marquette's squad, and now we're over at the Drake. We've got they are an on-soul point, and what an amazing team fight. Let's take a look at this right here. Immediately after Butler, Carthago had thrown out his ultimate, a huge amount of damage. They were able to collapse here. Great showstopper there, and the flash with the haymaker in order to finish off like Sack 42. And this was the best part, over the wall from downtown. Butler Mojo Romo comes in with the half-court shot. 3 points and a kill onto the Ornn as well. Such a huge pickup right there to close out that fight and grant them that second Hextech Drake.
That's like a 3-pointer plus a foul and one. That's essentially what just happened with Mojo Romo. As we do, again, already see now this potentially snowballing in favor of Butler. They've got now I was going to say about 8K, but they're about 7K advantage overall. And that fight was so vital for them to get this upper hand against Marquette as we continue through this later portion of the mid-game.
Yeah, and I think what I'm really looking forward to now is that Ezreal is gigantic right now. Oh, Neckington. Oh, no way!
He gets the showstopper on the outskirts of the cage. Might just be able to finish it off with the grid, but he's got a sliver of health! He's gonna escape! And they completely shut down this opportunity that Junior went for. Mojo now goes in for the hook. Once again, having that Glacial Augment coming through to try and get the CC as Geek goes in for the stasis. Being eliminated from the side and getting a stun now from Zac to try and slow the momentum. Voltade on the front, continuing to slash away the health with those double axes. And now looking for the tower.
What a very strange start to that fight, but Butler is now huge right now. They're up 2 men. They're now up a member. They have their smite available. This is definitely a very good Baron call right here. They kill it very quickly thanks to Gwen and Ezreal and Olaf. It's going to be very hard to contest this, and now this is a very easy pickup because once they kill this Baron, Neckington Jr. is going to be alive. There he is. There's the respawn. He's got all 5 members now. Butler has 5 members with Baron buff. This is going to be very, very tough. I think... Yeah, okay, so Neckington Jr. does have teleport available, and Levi will have it in just a little bit, which means these side waves for Marquette are going to be really, really hard to defend now.
Now we can see a lot of the clear comes through. Junior just moving outside of the cage once again. There's an attempt to try and lock him down, but Mike needs to be extremely cautious. Last time, that early aggression cost them the fight, losing out on any sort of damage. Now in the top position, Levi going to try and collapse in onto Geek Bro. Does get some movement, so there is a little separation, attempting to see if maybe there's an opportunity to proc this ultimate with a couple of orbs. Scatter of the Week comes through with the rotation from Mike. Levi still bobbing and weaving and playing a dangerous game. The immunity is there, so you're not being stunned, but now the aggression can be punished. Carthago rotating up this river, getting the dash forward to try and harass Mike, but it is an even 2-for-2 now. Everyone at this point is just fixated with a TP coming in from the flanking side. There's the showstopper onto the Yordle. That's going to be Vigar. Ultimate comes through by Kaio in the bottom position. The health is there. Junior didn't expect it. The team is rotated, and now you've got the Forge Gun coming in onto Junior, but the grit is massive. No one can give him assistance. Doesn't matter how big that shield is, and if you've gone Super Saiyan, not against 5.
Yeah, but look at how Butler is answering. They've had so many members up into this top lane. Gwen is now in the bot threatening this tier 3 turret, and Olaf is taking a tier 2 mid. They might have lost Neckington Jr. up in the top, but they forced Marquette to answer them, and now they're responding once again in kind. And now it's going to be very hard to stop Butler Levi right now as they're trying to turn it around. There's the exhaust.
I mean, there's so many resources being forced into Levi right now. They're going to hit the blast cone. They're going to get out safe. Everyone is rotated down. Now topside is weak. They've got the turret. There's 3 versus an Ornn. They need some assistance. They've lost the bottom and the mid turret, now going to potentially lose this top one. This is just going awry for Marquette.
Yeah, this is really, really good macro play from Butler here. They're forcing, like you said, so much resources across the map that they're forcing Marquette to respond with multiple members, which is insane to try to match a team that has this Baron buff. And even one member in a lane can threaten your turrets. They've lost mid tier 2, they've lost bot tier 2, they've lost top tier 2. They lost 3 turrets across these multiple plays that Butler has been making to force the Marquette around the map. They've been playing do-si-do, they've been playing, they've been put them on the ring around the rosy. I don't know, you know what I mean. They've been just
wheels
all
on
over the map.
bus go round and round. I just had to bring that one into mix, but now, oh no, you're going to get the reposition. Junior out in the open, going into a stack of 4. Once again, the grit is there. Can Voltic come in to give assistance? Now has to flash out. Junior in a dangerous position. Low health is going to be eliminated as long as they get one more auto. The Glacial Augment comes in from Mojo with the slow on the front side, locking down another. Carthago in the back, left reigning free to do what they want. The Gwen positioning just going to completely shut it down. A quadra kill comes in from Levi, and now the Drake is in sight for the Dragon Soul. What a play by the mid laner from Butler.
Levi just destroyed their HP bars. For a second, it was there. It looked like Marquette was going to be able to turn this fight around. Levi throws one ability into 3 members and kills all of them nearly instantaneously. It was insane the amount of damage that he did in that one instance. Completely swung the fight into the Butler's favor. Now they have Hextech. They have Hextech Soul. All the members of Marquette are down. They might actually just be able to win the game.
They're going to quickly deal the damage necessary. It's going to be a hope and a prayer for the last 2 to slow this momentum, but there is no way. Levi is leading the charge, dominating in the fight, and now towards the Nexus. They actually have a spawn. Can they get enough crowd control? They've got to focus the Nexus, but Carthago's actually opting to go for the players instead of the ending of the game. Also, with this rotation back, they're going to have to flee. They're taking the Hex, but can't get it quick enough. And you miraculously have Marquette coming out surviving with just a small margin of health on the Nexus itself at 30 minutes.
Holy moly. It was so close. I'm almost more upset that they didn't grab the second inhibitor on the way out. But
I know, right?
Butler has a very easy way into finishing this game right now. These respawn timers are a little long, so Marquette will have some time to at least stem the bleeding, push the waves out of their base, and be able to give at least some control back into their half of the map. But it's just breathing room for a little bit. Butler, especially Neckington, has been so aggressive with these initiations here, and he might be in some trouble right now.
Oh, showstopper, big damage onto the backline. Geek Pro surviving. The cage comes through. Grit is no longer there, and again, Junior getting caught out in the open of the top position. But to be fair, Marquette committed a TP to that to make sure that they could get rid of Nickington.
Yeah, but now that's important because now they don't have a teleport to answer this push in the bot half. They were really, really good. They were really, really well positioned to go and try to take Baron, which is spawning in about 15 seconds here. The problem is now their entire team has to rotate towards this bottom half of the map because they have a wave of super minions pushing into their base. They can't properly respond to this Baron now. They now need to go there. Look at where Vigar is right now. They have TP, but they have nothing to TP to,
yeah.
right? They have to go up into that tri-bush right there. So now it's up to see how they're going to deal with this because Gwen, split pushing in the top, does have teleport available.
I mean, technically, this is an opportunity to try and do so. They're getting the inhibitor, rotating up. They're pushing pressure in multiple positions. Neckington comes around for the flanking side. Zach on the front side here with MVP. Nice stun into the back position onto the wall. Showstopper does go a little wide, doesn't get the damage onto the support. Nickerson up front is going to go down. The focus is on the Nexus. That's going to be the completion. It doesn't matter if they were there to proc the Baron. It's going to be Levi in the back able to take this all on their own.
What an insane game from Butler here. Absolutely incredible. The ending of that game, a little shaky, a little divided on where people were fighting there, and you couldn't quite end the game just yet. But Levi coming in huge, right? You can't 1v2 a Gwen with two ranged characters. You have to go into melee range against her, and Levi is so strong. They can't properly fight a Gwen at that stage, and you just have an exposed Nexus. And then on top of that, your team is split. You either go have everyone go and fight Levi because, you know, that might just be what you need in order to stop them from killing the Nexus, or you have your team go and fight at Baron, in which case you're probably still losing, because if you kill Levi and save the Nexus, you now have 4 members of the rest of the Butler squad come in through another lane, and they have Baron buff. How are you going to defend a naked Nexus like that? It's going to be really hard to do that again. You know, absolutely incredible game by Butler here, especially in that latter half. And wow, what a team fight from Levi towards the end there.
We have a great day just set up in front of us. Let's be honest. This has been amazing so far. Yeah, it really has. This is the games that we look forward to, and hopefully you in the chat are looking forward to it just as much as we are. As yes, Butler has managed to claim this first win in this first to 2, as we are going to be heading to a short break. Don't go anywhere. We're curious to see if Marquette's going to be able to turn a phrase here and be able to put it into a game 3, but we'll be finding out here in just a moment after this short break. Nothing but good games here from the Big East Conference on the main stage. I'm Rich Rad here with Shinkari, and it has been a day for us.
Yeah.
This is just like us being kids in a candy store right now with how exciting these games have been.
Yeah.
And I'm going for all the Butterfingers I can find. Or Pixies. Either or. Those are both my muse, so...
I just be careful. No one has those Butterfingers. I heard like something bad happens to you if you lay a finger on someone else's Butterfinger.
True.
That is just, it's just a rumor. Could be anything. I'm more of a Twix kind of person myself.
Twix. Okay.
Yeah. Twix.
Right, now the better question is are you a left Twix or a right Twix kind of person?
God. You know, I hit you with the branding, and then you hit me with it, and I was just realized, oh God, I probably shouldn't have done that.
It's okay. Just break me up a piece of this Kit Kat bar, as now we're going to be into. break down the picks and bans as I break off a Kit Kat bar. Let's go.
Hashtag not an ad. Hashtag not sponsored.
Not at all.
But like, if you want to give us some chocolate for free, that'd be dope. You know.
Absolutely. Halloween's so far in front of us. We need it now.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I was struggling to find another slogan for another chocolate bar, but a lot of them don't have that, you know?
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, never mind. I just remembered one. Don't worry about it. I'll save it for later.
We'll intertwine that into the dialogue as we take a look at the picks and bans. And honestly, it's basically a repeat of last time. Deja vu all over again. Same things.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's the Gwen ban.
I was going to say, that's the, yeah.
The problem is Levi has a lot of champions that are really showy like that are these carry style champions in the middle lane that, like, even banning away the Gwen, there's still a lot of champions that Levi likes to play that could still be picked up here. I think the Silas is another thing that, like, Levi might have picked up, but, you know, is not going to be played here either. The Victor banned away as well. We might see an Irelia. I believe Levi played that a little bit when they were playing top lane, I believe, last season a bit. I'd have to double check on that as well. But there are still a lot of carry style champions that Levi likes playing that are still available to be picked here as John.
Well. So let's not jump to conclusions here.
Okay.
Because we'll have plenty to discuss if this does fall into the realm of what we anticipate from Marquette. Again, this is something we've seen in Pro League, so we'll give it a hot moment and let the heartbeats not palpitate just yet. As we do see the Viego coming in next. Very, very strong jungler. Actually, it's a hard swap since there was no ban on the Zeri, so we do get to see that come out today. We haven't seen it earlier in our previous series, but we do get a chance to highlight it in this one with Marquette picking it up.
Yeah, Zeri, once again, is a very short-range AD carry and has a lot and is mostly oriented towards having very, very high movement speed. They're looking to dash in and out of the fight, use their lightning quick mobility to move around as much as possible, and be very, very slippery, right? They're looking for like long engagements where they're dashing in and out of the fight. That's why Trinity Force is very, very good on them. And Janna, very much an enabler of people having very high movement speed. So we'll have to see how that's going to happen. But once again, this could be a pick for like Zach42. You know, we saw it last week out of St. John's. Let's see if Marquette wants to be the ones to break out the LCS Pro strats here. But once again, like you said, we're going to let it simmer. We're going to let it wait. You know, this doesn't have to be a Smite Janna in the top.
Because it could really honestly just be like the Jaina in the bot lane ever since they had the adjustment on the Tornado, where honestly, that just overall as a whole, that speed at which that you can toss out the Tornado was such a quality of life change. It makes it much more active versus those having to be reactive to it because of its pacing. But taking a look at the opposing side here for Butler, they did look to pick up the Caitlyn to synergize with that Thresh play, even though it's not something that we've seen as likely together. We normally see it coupled with an enchanter like the Lux because they just have such a long range poke. I still think this is going to be tremendously valuable, especially if a death sentence is land with the potential trap that can be placed on top of that crowd control. There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and I think you put the nail on the head, right? The big reason why we see Caitlyn with Luxes and Morganas is that they can follow up a lot of their already very long CC with another form of CC on top of that, right? And Thresh is, you can do it. It's just a little awkward because just all of his CC is displacement except for his ultimate,
Correct.
right? Flay, Death Sentence, all of them are going to be moving people around. So there's not going to be like a clear way that Caitlyn can put down the trap. It'll arm and then they'll be snared again, right? It's going to require a whole lot of coordination and a whole lot of like timing with Carthago and Mojo Romo, which, you know, coordination isn't exactly something that is lacking for the Butler squad.
Agreed.
So it's not going to be like super hard, but it is going to be a little awkward here as Vigar once again hovered. Oh, looking at the Ari once again as well. Both are very powerful right now.
Could be curious to see. Again, they didn't really gain. I mean, they had some value with the Vigar in the bot lane. I think they were just easily punished in the early game position. Now going to opt to go into this middle lane, looking to see what's going to be picking into. Because again, that's the blind pick. So now you do have Butler able to try and hard counter this Vigar, seeing what they want to do. Are they going to opt to go potentially more for like a melee heavy mid laner, or they want to go with the same kind of ranged mechanic to try and punish the Yordle in the mid position? And a little bit of hesitation here to see what they want to go with it. Probably heavy communication before they lock anything in, as we look to still wait for them to select something. And it's going to be the Syndra here. And again, we've seen some very, very great use coming out on Syndra play. And Levi, even though not getting the Gwen that we've seen earlier, is still able to get a lot of value on a champ like this.
Mojo Romo hovering around a bunch of champions. I saw the Galio and got immediately excited. That's my favorite champion ever. He's just ever since the rework, he has just been my favorite. Big, very...
Oh.
Okay. So Tryndamere, definitely this makes sense for Neckington Jr. up into the top lane. Once again, as a very likes the kind of bruisers to play up in the top lane. Definitely a little bit more damage focused than some of the more tankier focused players up on that top half of the map. And if this turns out to be a Smite Janna, this is exactly the best way to punish it. And let's see if that's what's going to be, because Karma is hovered.
Selected. Yes.
Okay. All right. So if this is going to be a Karma in the top lane, regardless of whether this is going to be a Smite top laner, this is still a very good matchup for Tryndamere. Yeah. This is like Tryndamere, the big reason why he was being picked in the mid lane, especially around the Worlds meta for Season 11, was that Tryndamere as a champion is just broken. He's just like, oh yeah, just run away from him, forehead. And it's just like, you really can't do that. Yeah. Especially with mythic items and a lot of the new items as well. It's very hard to actually get away from Tryndamere. And there's also not a whole lot of tools on Marquette to really stop Tryndamere, right? It's going to be the tether from Karma if she can live through it, and it's going to be the cage from Geeked Bro, and it's going to be the tornado from Janna, right? But there are ways around this, right? I mean, Tryndamere can just walk around the cage, and in some cases he can just, you know, build the what's it?
Gale Force?
Edge of Night.
Or that. Yeah.
There we go. In order to get around the stun there. And so there's not going to be a whole lot to stop him, right? And the big way that we're going to see Neckington Jr. play this top lane, especially in this kind of matchup, is that typically ranged versus melee is in favor of the ranged, because the ranged has a much better time controlling the pressure around the wave. And Karma in a laning phase environment is very, very good at that, because she can just throw empowered Qs at the minion wave, and you'll have a melee character that's taking a bunch of incidental damage because of it. Tryndamere relies on a lot of his base regeneration and a lot of the health regeneration items that he builds very early in order to survive a lot of this onslaught of damage from mages, and says, okay, you're out of magic, you're out of mana, I'm just going to hit you with my big sword and you die. And post 6, not even your turret is going to help you.
Yeah. I mean, with the Undying Rage, it just makes things a lot different. And when, you know, having that resource, I'm more so looking to see, when we look at that top side against the Karma Tryndamere, how far forward Neckington is going to play out the gate to try and punish early, so it gives a little bit more space to work through that 1 to 6 phase.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And once we hit this late game, because Marquette has drafted such a team fight heavy team, Neckington Jr. is going to be the most pain in your side as this game goes on, because Tryndamere, Tryndamere just never wants to team fight ever. He just doesn't want to. He wants to 1v1 people, so he's going to be in the side waves. He's going to be shoving them as much as possible, and you're going to have to be constantly forcing Marquette into decisions where they have to initiate, because the longer that they take not making a decision, the more time Neckington Jr. is going to have up in these top lanes to push out the wave. He doesn't have teleport. He's not coming to help you at Dragon. He's not doing it. Okay, so if Marquette even stumbles a little bit or hesitates even a little, Neckington Jr. is going to take a whole lot in whatever wave is at the other end of the map, right? They're at Baron, bot lane is going to suffer. If they're at Dragon, top lane is going to suffer. And that's what we're going to be having to take a look at, because Butler, once again, very coordinated team.
And even if it isn't just, you know, strictly just the split pushing, if you can kind of divide where you do need to have Neckington rotate in and potentially get a couple of pickups trying to challenge somebody in the back and just putting them into an uncomfortable position of where they don't feel confident taking that, that's still also a victory when you have potentially a Thresh looking to get a death sentence or a wonderful scatter of the week, which we've seen a couple of times in these narrow corridors or certain passageways that can just, once you proc that ult from Levi, you spread every orb across the map. They are all stunned. That's a playground for both the Caitlyn and the Xin Zhao to even have potentially assistance with this Tryndamere coming in with a flanking position. There's so many things that can work for them, and with, like you mentioned, how coordinated they've been in these types of team fights, and just as a, you know, unit. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game's going to play out, because I still feel that this is a little bit favoring to Butler, but Marquette hasn't, you know, just taken a seat. They haven't just leaned back in their chair just yet. They're leaning forward, postured, and ready to go as we do enter in onto Summoner's Rift.
Hey, there's the Broloff that we were talking about before. Bro, dude.
Oh, dude, my dad owns a dealership.
You can't arrest me. My dad owns a dealership.
I just love it so much. I actually do want to make cardboard axes as like a cosplay. Like, because that's like discount cosplay. That's discount cosplay at its prime. And it's a real cosplay. Come on.
Yeah, and like for the most part, like you could probably just like, you know, like that's a cardboard axes. Like everyone has at least 2 polo shirts, right? You know, you just need some wristbands, like, and then I think the most expensive item might just be like the beer drinking helmet.
I was gonna say, yeah, or unless you want to go for some torn up jeans. Let's be honest. Those are very expensive to purchase jeans with holes in them.
Okay,
now I sound like a broken old man record. But
this is the most old man you've sounded.
This is the old man. My goodness.
I don't understand why the kids have to buy the jeans with the holes.
If I would have known that all my jeans, when I scuffed and tore my knees back as a child, were worth more money nowadays, I would have kept them and sold them for highest bidder. And we're gonna leave that alone. But as we enter into this game, I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to turn out. Will we see a game 3 in the Summoner's Rift? All right, you know what? Let's not talk about it. Just give me a warm glass of milk and a glass to put my dentures in. So.
Level 1, we're seeing a mirrored start here, so both junglers are going to be making their way towards that top half of the map, so we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. They might even meet for a scuttle crab or 2, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that as well. So these are fairly standard lanes as well. We're not going to see any double smite shenanigans, no hashtag LCS strats coming out here. We're still playing some honest League of Legends here as Butler and Mojo Romo once again making these aggressive plays by Thresh in the bot lane.
Just want to announce this. I'm more of a boomer. I'm not an elder. Let's just get that out in the open. I realized after this discussion that I probably made myself sound like an elder versus a boomer. I know a boomer is still old, but I ain't that old.
Okay.
I ain't dusted in the dirt yet. As we take a look,
we were over with it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just had to address it one more time because I die a little inside, but it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine. I swear. I'm only in my 30s. We'll just call it that. As we do have basically across the map, we can see some standard aggression. Lanes are shoved up in basically all 3 practically in favor of Butler at the moment, where there's not really going to be an opportunity for any sort of ganking. Junglers are continuing to look for a full clear here, not deviating away from once they hit to that level 3. So there's going to be some patience before any real engagements come out unless there's a severe 1v1 disadvantage.
Yeah, right now, the only saving grace for like Zach right now is that they are 1 full on mana, And number two, Neckington Jr. needs someone else to kind of set up these engagements, and the jungler has not arrived just quite yet in this top half.
Ooh, nice hook underneath the turret. A little bit aggressive, though. Gets the play as well. Kaio gets really low. The ignite is there. The heal comes through. Is that going to be enough to keep him alive? I'm standing on my tippy toes thinking I can see better as they go off the map, but that didn't happen. So you actually do see this bot lane survive. I wish everybody could have just seen that. I was actually like getting out of my seat to think that I could visibly see more.
I mean, luckily our producer is putting themselves on their tiptoes as now, like, Mike is in some trouble.
Yep, gonna have the hurricane come through, managing to prevent Mike from going down. Possible return here. Snicker's gonna rotate down below. Exhaust activated onto Mojo. The heal gives a little bit more to potentially have an escape, but now that you're stuck in a corner, you go for a Hail Mary of a death sentence to return, but there is first blood in favor of Marquette, different from the first game, and now hoping to snowball this Zeri play for Mike.
Yeah, it's going to be very important to try to snowball Zarya down in the spot lane. Shutting down Carthago is going to be very important to their game right now, because I feel like Neckington Jr. is mostly just like a inevitability as Geechbro having to flash in the mid lane there.
And now in the top position, lockdown once again, and power damage will put Neckington into a very difficult position. No pots to heal, no rage built up for the Q proc. And at this point, just has to back and run all the way back to top lane, while you're still going to have Zach looking to clear up this wave, take full advantage of it being shoved near their tower, and just gain as much advantage as possible.
Yeah, this is the time for them to really just kind of slow down the wave being pushed towards their side and keeping it lodged on their side. Tryndamere will be able to evade a gank fairly easily thanks to his spin and having his summoners available to him, but really locking a melee player, a melee champion over on the on your side is going to make them much easier to gank. So even though they have the tools, forcing him to use it and making sure that the second time round is going to be easier. But right now we have to focus on this bottom half because this dragon's below half HP.
Yeah, bro, in the corner, but now you're going to have Volte jump in. You actually still get the pickup, and with the Thresh combination from Mojo, make sure that you do have Voltage get out safely as an attempted smite steal comes through. But now that they've at least gotten some of that objective, they're only a small margin of gold ahead, returning back to their respective lanes and playing this slowly.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be definitely something to watch at here. Continuing this this game is starting to swing in Marquette's favor. It's just whether or not they'll be able to hold on to it. Now the lead is very slight. It's only 500 gold, but you know, some teams have been able to snowball with less. So we'll have to see how this plays out. The only real advantages early are in this bottom half of the map, and Carthago and Mojo Roma haven't really been able to capitalize it on as much as they'd like, as now Snickers and Voltate are fighting in the jungle. Levi's coming in to help.
Oh my goodness, Snickers comes out just crushing Voltate. The damage just ensuing, and Levi's got a bail.
Yeah, and yeah, it's definitely going to be very tough to come back to a lane like that. Xin Zhao early is very, very strong, but being able having 1v1 and losing against an Olaf like that does not feel good. Levi, though, looking for Geek Bro.
Does have the ultimate, comes through just in time, able to bring down Geek. Now there's a rotation up to the top position. Snicker getting that follow through with the axe as the lockdown comes in. Nice true damage as well with the thunder from on top. Ooh, but Volte needs to be careful here again. Does not want to find themselves vulnerable. Actually dashes in now, going on to Janna. The exhaust has to be expended. The knockup from the third Talon Strike secures the pickup. You might have lost against the Viking, but sure as heck are going to take away the floating Enchantress.
Yeah, Levi is looking for the execute here and might actually get... Oh, okay, well... Never mind. Well, like Mike 42 picks up the kill here thanks to the turret, though. But look at how far they had to chase Syndra in order to pick up that kill there. Definitely giving enough time to some of these laners to pick up some turret plates. Look at this bottom half of the map right here. Carthago picking up the second plate of this turret right here. I don't think they'll be able to pick up a whole lot more. The bot lane from Marquette is making their way down here, but definitely evening out the gold lead right now for sure.
Yeah, trying to set themselves up as best as they can. The fact that they've managed to equalize. This next plate should go down quickly if they can just get the opportunity of forcing them back. Like Mike, though, going to be able to get a decent couple of pickups on these CS. Actually, a little bit of a challenge trying to punish this. Carthago with the long range could look to get the advantage, has to go for the Lantern to escape out, and still just shy of getting that third plate.
Yeah, it might be. This is the best time to kind of punish Zeri because they don't really have a whole lot of mana. They're in these kind of long-range engagements, Zeri's going to rely on their abilities more so than their auto attacks in order to return damage. So by pressing them while they're so low on mana right now is the best time. And Caitlyn has one of the longest ranges, auto attack ranges in the game. So this is the best time to do it.
There's the third plate coming through. You've got a rotation here. Voltade could look for a tri-bush positioning, but they do have vision on it, so that is going to give Marquette a little bit of an intel. As long as they're paying attention to it, they're collapsing towards it to see if they can get the advantage, damage over the wall, and at this point, they just have to let that tower go.
Yeah, Voltade is down here right now. Does have the... Oh, no, excuse me. Olaf does have the Rift Herald for the top half, but Voltade might have just gone a little too far forward here.
All you're seeing is spatulas to lock you into place. Geekbro comes out with the cage to keep any sort of escape option for Voltade. They managed to get that, even though the turret has one plate left. They weren't able to eliminate it completely.
It seems interesting that Voltade would continue to stay in the jungle there. I thought that for sure he was going to go down and help take down the turret for with Carthago and Mojo Romo just so they could back. Right, they still haven't backed after getting so much gold. If we could take a look at the gold really quickly for Caitlyn right now, sitting on about 2,000 and about to get first turret as well. This is a whole lot of gold in Carthago's pocket, and being able to spend that is going to be really important. Now 2,500, you know, that could have been spent a little bit sooner, and they could have been back to lane already. And now they have to take kind of an awkward back here where they're just kind of giving Calio and like Mike a whole lot of opportunity to shove out the wave and deal a bunch of damage to this bottom turret here. As Rift Herald is popped, looking to go mid lane as they are now using that as a distraction to go grab this dragon.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to give real respect here to Butler because they lost the early objective, but you do see them returning, coming back, getting that bottom half. Those plates were so significant for gold. They've managed to actually surpass in gold despite these two Drakes going in favor of Marquette because they've just been really exploiting alternative options. Even in top lane, while this one is losing plates in bot lane from Mike to recover, there's still the Trinimer playing top lane. You commented on it. Neckington is just going to take full advantage of this because the focus was on the Drake bot half.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Tryndamere just does hashtag Tryndamere things, and he doesn't team fight, and he just goes in 1v1.
Wow!
Whoa, what a flash!
Going in for the aggressive pick, Carthago shuts it down and continues the lead. Gale Force ensures that they've got that movement to close the gap when they've already got quite a lengthy distance to shoot from.
Yeah, and that was a really good pickup as well. For Carthago, once again, very powerful, has that Gale Force now online. This is a Caitlyn that you can't mess with until you match them in power, and Zeri definitely has right now, but it's going to be really tough if they get spotted out because these thresh hooks from Mojo Roma have been very, very good.
And you can see Snicker trying to hug that wall to prevent any sort of intel from the CS, looking to try and back for the moment, just in case there is any attempt to re-engage this, but Neckington's not going to risk it. Going to go back, get a good buy, try to return back into this position, picks up a pick-sack. Ooh, actually, Hex Flask comes over. Mojo doesn't grab it, but as my original comment was, gets the pickaxe for the Tryndamere play to try and give some extra AD necessary for these engagements.
Yeah, I'm expecting a Gale Force build here and maybe a hull breaker later, depending on how much Neckington wants to devote to these side wave pushes. If there are still some things to take, I could definitely see it, but right now they're fighting.
Whoa, Voltade goes aggressively over the wall. The true damage still stacking up onto Voltade. Nice ult coming through, but Kaio's going to survive. Pops actually the ultimate to heal through it back up top. So Geek gonna get slowed for the moment. Cage comes out, cooldown eliminated. No longer having to worry about that for a good plus 10 seconds as there's a chains locked onto Levi, but escapes with a nice scatter of the weak to keep the distance, so they aren't gonna be locked down for a follow-up by Snicker.
Yeah, a bit of a just both teams catching each other out there right there. I'm not quite sure what the positioning is for just yet. Dragon isn't up for another 2.5, a little bit more than that. And I guess they're just roaming around to try to get wards here, but Carthago definitely in some trouble right now.
Oh, beautiful Lancer and Mojo being the saving grace necessary to prevent that execution.
Yeah, that's definitely, they're still looking for this mid lane turret right here. I definitely like this switch here to put Carthago and Mojo Romo into the mid lane here and having Syndra go and having Levi go into the bot lane. This is a pretty standard lane swap. When you take in a bot lane turret first, you love swapping the bot lane to the other half. As Nextington Jr. looking to fight like Zach underneath the turret.
Just wants to clean it up. Undying Rage is here, gets the lockdown, has to force the flash. It finally ends, but Neckington still gets the takedown. Zach doing everything in their power to prevent that takedown, but still falls short.
Yeah, once again, it's very hard to get away from Tryndamere, but luckily Neckington Jr. had to pop everything in order to get that kill there. Ghost and Flash were used there, and like Zach nearly walked away from that A-OK. They were snared underneath the turret. If Neckington Jr. hadn't flashed there, then they would have died. So this is good because the next time that Neckington Jr. is looking to fight like Zach, it's going to be a lot harder for him to secure these kills without those summoner spells available.
Minute and 20 seconds now for Dragon to come up on this bottom position as well, as there's a lot of presence of vision down below. A couple of good clearing wards from Kaio, also one with that scuttle positioning. So they do have at least an opportunity to try and clear up these waves and get ready for that engagement. In the bottom position, though, you're still going to see Levi look to try and clear up this as well for a nice slow push towards the tower. And honestly, at this point, they're just going to wait for that objective because there's not really anything else otherwise that they need to focus on since it's still 5 minutes to the Baron.
Yeah, it's definitely looking to see how they're going to handle this next little bit here. Neckington Jr. looking for like Mike here.
Ooh, nice forward position so it doesn't apply the slow and able to hop over the wall. Neckington now slightly low, half health, does not yet have the Undying Rage, so needs to be cautious of this as it's still a few seconds out before its utilization. So they maneuver now down towards the Dragon position, acknowledging that they're trying to clear out some wards, waiting to see how it's going to be Butler engaging into this and also keeping tabs on where Neckington is.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting. Marquette is all bundled up.
Flank now coming in from Neckington, seeing if they could potentially get some harassment. Zach has acknowledged it, though. Does spin over the wall to keep distance so it doesn't lock him down. Snicker up front. Ragnarok comes out. Voltate is the prime target up front, but the flank comes through. Death Sentence pulls them in. The box is there. You've got Neckington collapsing onto Mike, pushing him and shoving him away from this engagement. Snicker gonna get blown up with a double kill going in favor of Neckington. Again, the team fights weren't ideal, but you do still see Butler managing to gain value as a triple kill for the later end of this goes in favor of Levi with an ace on the board.
Yeah, and the best thing about this team fight, the thing that turned it around is not exactly what you expected. You might be able to see it here. Watch the engagement here, Snickers MVP, but that is it. The Glacial Augment slow field hit 3 members, the most important members of Marquette, which then allowed Neckington to get onto the back line there, allowed Carthago the space to auto-attack so many times. It came in so clutch. Glacial Augment, OP. Next time you lock in Thresh, make sure you're using that mastery. Holy moly, that was good.
Hashtag Glacial Augment always. Support life. Done. That's how the whole thing goes. If you saw that, and that should be a tweet that comes on the bottom of the screen right now. But one thing to focus on is that they're going to get this Rift Herald in the top position just before the Baron comes back up, so they have more opportunity to shove in one of these objectives. A little bit of harassment in this mid lane. Now that Mojo Romo is there, you're going to have both of them bail out. Snickers is going to come there just a second too late, acknowledges that there is an attempt to try and contest, but now left out in the open. Neckington looks for the slow, but manages to bob and weave around it as the Ragnarok comes out. Neckington does have the Undying Rage, and with what resilience holds on to it, knowing that they can just push this a little bit further. Carthago nets back, attempting to keep some distance, repositioning as well with the Gale Force. It's no longer available, but they're now trying to push in. Voltate is separated. That's a collapse from Marquette on top, and they do get the pickup. Double kill in favor of Snickers.
I think Carthago might have accidentally right-clicked the blast cone right there and shoved both Voltate and Carthago back into Marquette. a huge blunder right there that is now going to cost them 2 kills and maybe also this mid lane turret, which is going to give the bounty over to Marquette here, evening up this goal just a little bit more. It's also important that Geekbro did use their teleport to get to this fight as well. Real big pickup here is going to even out the goal to about 3,000 difference, but it's still in Butler's favor as of right now. We have Baron spawning in about 1:40, but Neckington looking to fight just a little bit more.
Yep, Neckington now, again, does have the Undying Rage this time around, so can play a little bit more aggressive. And I have to give a lot of credit to Neckington. There have been 2 occasions where they have held that ultimate to the sliver of health with not overcommitting it and carrying it into these next fights, which were super critical. Geekbro now going to get hit by that long-range engagement from Carthago. Flash has to come through. Oh my goodness! It's the 2nd time in a row Geek has been able to get out with literally a pixel worth of health.
Yeah, so insanely close there to pick up pick up the kill on the Geekbro now. Back in the base, does not have teleport, not going to be able to protect their mid lane in next tier 2 turret. As now they might be able to get a charge onto the inhibitor turret as well, but I don't think they're going to be able to take it this time. It's their 4 people strong. Levi pushing in that bottom half with the teleport available. We'll have to see if they're going to teleport anywhere close, but Marquette does need to respond.
Absolutely. They have to find some kind of value here. Maybe a potential pickup onto a straggler across the map, but with how well and reserved Butler is playing in these engagements, they're reading the situation so cleanly and finding true value on not only their position, but their focus firing. It's something that Marquette's really going to have to start downloading and accepting that they need to start better looking for these engagements so they can try and turn this around, because they're really not that far behind in the grand scale of things.
Yeah, and Neckington Jr. has been playing pretty aggressively over the past couple of games, so being able to try to punish that as much as possible, and even in some cases, Mojo Romo has followed through on some death sentences onto Snickers that weren't 100% necessary. So we'll have to see if Marquette is able to pick up on some of these mistakes that Butler is making and be able to capitalize on them like we saw in that previous fight. But as it stands right now, Butler is across the map, taking advantages where they can and forcing Marquette to answer, even though Marquette right now is splitting pretty well for their team as well.
Okay, procs the ultimate there. That's a decently long cooldown. Should be able to get up, though, for the next engagement in 45 seconds, as they will have it once again. Now that they do have that time remaining, you can already see that Butler is attempting to try and sniff out some vision and preparing for this Drake, because they want to try and not allow it to be on the 3rd Drake for Marquette, because then they put themselves into having to force an engagement the following Drake.
Yeah, they also have some good wards on the enemy side right now, really deep into their, just on the outside of their base there, and just on the other side of that big mid wall right there. So they do have some good choices right here. Snickers using the ability to just kind of chase them out here, but Neckington might be in some trouble. Spins over the wall, they're out of there.
Yep, has some easy evasion. If the tornado did hit, though, mid-spin before the wall, that would have been a great opportunity for Snickers to force out the Undying Rage, but now it's going to be carried into this engagement. You've got Mojo Romo on the front line. Snicker coming in swiftly with the back position now. Neckington going in first, having the Gale Force, looking for the back line, and has the Undying Rage. Spin to win! But now, as it ends, it's vulnerable, and you have a numbers advantage here for Marquette. They put so many resources to prevent Neckington from gaining the value, and they are still in this.
Yeah, this was really good by Butler. They were able to secure the Drake, but now Zach's in some trouble.
Levi gets the takedown, unaware of the follow-through. This has just gone awry. The movement from Zach through the bush into center allows the crowd control to land. Now they collapse up onto Snickers. They've gained the Dragon, and they have a great position to rotate onto this Baron to take it quickly.
Yeah, this is a really good time to do so. They have Smite up with Voltate. They have the Caitlyn to help take down, and Neckington Jr. just respawned. So even if they don't make it to the Baron, if they're able to secure it, all 5 members will have the Baron buff. But now it looks like Marquette is looking to contest here. We already had some folks lose some resistances. This is going to be a little tight. If Snickers MVP, they are nearly full HP. They can try to go in for the steal here.
Oh, Ragnarok comes through. You've got the jump over the wall. Mike trying to keep some distance. They do get the pickup, but Baron has gone. Now you're going to see them just cut their losses, and Levi tries to escape. Snicker with the axe reset, grabbing and tossing. The flash comes through by Levi, and they get out with their life.
Mojo Romo still looking for something over the wall. I think they smell Snickers is there. Great hook.
Going to be able to follow through with the play. Actually, it's the blast cone! Snickers goes forward on this play! The Jaina ultimate comes through, managing to keep Snickers alive, and I guarantee you that was a clincher on the back end for Snickers.
Ooh, it was really close. While we were off camera, like Mike 42, just on the side there, was able to pick up an objective bounty for their team, grab themselves a little bit more gold. So the big thing here for Marquette, their victories here, they didn't lose too many of their own members chasing down Butler there. They got the objective bounty, and they denied at least one member, and a pretty important one too, Neckington, from having the Baron buff here. So the split push from Neckington is not going to be as powerful, but is still going to have something to watch here. Look at where he's coming right now, coming up through this bot lane right here, and he can just sit down here for a little bit because that's probably where the next fight is going to happen. 2.5 minutes here. The next Infernal Drake and Soul Point for both teams is going to be spawning.
It's so challenging for these engagements because they're trying to force out some of those cooldowns like the cage early in these narrow positions. It's almost that Butler at this point, they're having to commit Neckington more so to fights versus having to split, because if it's a 4 versus 5, there's no way that Butler's going to be able to outmatch the maneuverability from MU.
Right. And it's just really tough. Like, the big thing here is that you really want against a Vygar to approach from multiple angles so that they feel forced to use the cage, and then whoever is on the side where the cage isn't can have an advantage and be able to approach the Vygar, right? That's the other thing. You have to be able to pressure the Vygar, make the Vygar feel pressured enough that they either use the ability or pressure from multiple angles so that even if they do use the ability, they're in trouble. Speaking of trouble,
Levi collapsed on from the bush. Zach was the decoy, and you had Snickers rotate from down below. So they've got this advantage for the time being to try and keep them back, but they're still going to force up this mid lane to rotate to the top. Snickers not there, who is the front line for MU. And they're trying to collapse now onto Neckington to maybe get the pickup and force out the Undying Rage.
Really, really close. They're able to dash over the wall and be able to heal up just a little bit. I think this is a great opportunity for Butler to back, reset, and come back for this dragon, right? We got dragon up in about a minute here. We have a couple folks who are looking to defend this mid inhibitor turret, grab some stuff from the jungle, but this is a really good opportunity to reset right now and get over towards that dragon. We have about 45 seconds, a little bit more than that, in order to get to this dragon. This is very important one. I keep saying the dragon over and over again because this is soul point for both teams. A 4 infernal stack Drake is going to be so hard for Marquette to deal with, especially with the high damage dealers like Syndra and Tryndamere on Butler's squad.
And they want to put them into a position of where that next Drake is a guaranteed force of a fight so that they can have control of that engagement. And with this Scuttle Crab, they are going to get a little bit of utility moving through this riverbank position to see if they can find an opportunity, but patient play here as a couple of pokes come through. Green means go! Ragnarok is on! MVP goes diving into the back, and BU is actually just going to bail out of this. They have no reason to go into it, but Levi gets nuked by Geeked Bro and says bon voyage, while Mike in the mid lane gets another on Carthago. Oh, they stole the dragon! They rotated around to the bot position. So much focus was there. That's 3 Drakes now for Butler, and they now could look to the Dragon Soul next and put Marquette into a very uncomfortable position.
Yeah, this is definitely a really good job by Butler there. They split so hard, and you know, if at first it looked like Levi was not able to get was in a very poor position, and Marquette was going to win this whole fight, but Butler immediately was like, hey, they're all on that other half of the map, let's grab the Drake right now. They had their 80 carry, they had Voltaide, they had Neckington, right? They had a whole lot of easy damage to clean up that Drake. So really, really good pickup there. Turns that fight into a into something advantageous for Butler here as they continue to maintain their gold lead, which is going to be very important now that we're getting into maybe this 30-minute mark for the next Drake.
All stacking top for the moment from NU. They know that Neckington is still residing in this top position, and they may try and exploit it. If Neckington continues to push this, the Undying Rage is available, but this stack of 3 could be very dangerous. Acknowledges 2, though. Neckington's gonna have to bail.
Yeah, Neckington Jr. actually has possibly the coolest item for a Tryndamere, the Navori Quick Blades. And the Navori Quick Blades is every single time you crit, you reduce the cooldowns of your abilities by a decent chunk. So that's going to be a whole lot of spinning that Neckington is going to be able to do if given free opportunity to just throw out a bunch of critical hits, and they do have a decent amount of crit rating right now between all 3 items having it. So now we're going to have to see how it plays out. But right now, Marquette is really, really maneuvering around the Baron pit right now. This is going to be the next big objective. It's now finally respawned here, and Marquette really, really wants this objective.
Ooh, spins over the wall, does get hit by it. You've got the Glacial Augment trying to slow them. They're going to go in for this. Ragnarok comes out. Neckington's got to spin once again to get out. The Ghost is committed. The Undying Rage still being held onto. And they even... No! They knock him back. They tried to see if they could knock him more along the wall, but just because of his fast movement speed, hit him out of range of execution.
Yeah, but this is still important. Neckington had to back, is still without an ultimate here, and as a melee champion at about half HP here, so it's going to be really tough for him to find a way into this fight right now. Neckington Jr. has to find maybe somewhere else to maybe get an advantage, but right now Marquette is playing a little scared.
Oh,
Levi
no.
on the corner here, taking
Levi
a whole lot of damage.
Has to flash over the wall, barely escapes once again. A lot committed into this, and now with Levi being half health, they have to force a back right now. They can't go for this engagement, and Baron is primed and ready for Marquette.
Yeah, Marquette, this is a really good job by them right here. The only huge mistake that was there was Geekbro teleported into a team fight that they were really close to, but now immediate peel off the Baron here as Butler has come back to the fight. But if they get vision on these backs, they might take the opportunity to go and take the Baron themselves.
I mean, they're going to clear out the jungle quickly first, and then they'll probably put a lot of forward-positioned warding so they can guarantee that they can take this 1 minute and 36 seconds. If they can get the Baron, then rotate down to Dragon. They're in prime position to get a massive lead and shoving waves with the Baron buff.
Yeah, it looks like they're not going for the Baron at just this moment. They're just clearing out vision around the bottom half of the map right now. Like you said, Dragon is spawning in about 1 minute, and that's going to be the next big objective here. It's either you give up Soul Point to Butler here, you give up the Dragon Soul and you grab the Baron, or you let Butler take the Baron, and then you go and put yourself on Soul Point to deny the soul from the opponent. But it looks like it's going to be on Baron here.
Yeah,
and they've taken the bot lane.
They have to, because the bot lane is being shoved in so heavily. They've lost a turret. They're attempting to lose a second here. You do have Neckington. They're trying to bob and weave to give a harassment onto this Baron before they can get it. The damage is still consistent. The box comes out. They're trying to see if they can enter into this to steal it away. Voltate is there in range. A second turret goes for it. It actually does still go in favor of Marquette. They've got the Baron buff, but this fight is not yet over. A lot of value being obtained. The health values are low. It's going to be a fight win for Marquette, but look what they've lost. They've lost the tower. They've lost the inhibitor, and there is one back that came through by Zach just in time before being prevented.
Yeah, and it was a fairly even team fight too. It was a 1-2 loss, and now pings are coming out directly into the Dragon Pit right now. They have to capitalize on the amount of members down by Butler here. They have to use this opportunity. They can't let them get the Dragon Soul right now, but Levi and Carthago are waiting in the wings here. Neckington Jr. does have the ultimate available.
Yep, Undying Rage trying to see what they can do, but the Glacial Augment is going to put a heavy slow on top, has to force the spin and the flash. Is there a long-range pickup coming out from Mike? No, it's going to come up shy, and Neckington is going to need to run. There's an axe close by, attempts to go for the slow, but he doesn't turn back and will be able to get out of this. But no, Mike over the terrain, looks for the pickup, but gets popped on the opposing side by Levi. The fight continues. Snicker is outmatched and outplayed. You have Carthago laying into him with the rifle, and now they can get the Dragon Soul.
Yeah, this was a blunder by Marquette here. They had the numbers advantage around the Dragon Pit, and they scared Butler off of it. They had an opportunity to put themselves on Soul Point, but now they have to take this fight right here.
The Crescent Guard blocked all the damage from Geek Bro. Voltage completely survives unscathed from anything from Geek Bro. And now they have to back. They've got the empowered speed to get out of there, but there is an easy pickup. This is a free dragon. The soul is theirs. 4 fire stacks for them. And they are in a beautiful place now to try and really throttle in this mid lane.
Yeah, and not to mention that Baron buff is slowly running out for Marquette here. They only have a couple members left with the buff available, and it is slowly running out as well. It's gonna be more to keep our eyes on, but this Inferno buff is huge. It's gigantic. It's 4 stacks Infernal Drake. That is so much damage when a fight starts on a single target, and that is really, really good for Levi. It's really, really good for Neckington Jr. These characters who are looking for huge burst phases, really, really quick for you to get that HP bar down. Levi is going to be really, really hard to engage with. He hits you with 1 Q, and you're going to probably take a whole bunch of damage.
Well, especially because now at this point, you're at the point of where you gain your passive. It's increased hero damage on every orb. If you land a single orb plus the synergy of the Scatter of the Weak into an ultimate, even if you don't have full stack orbs at this point, you don't have to have 7. You just need the few, and you can still blow somebody up.
Yeah, we're definitely looking right here is now the Marquette using their Baron buff now to really engage here is like Zach. Oh my god!
Oh, the damage is real, the Undying Rage, the shield is active, the double kill and spinning out, even showing the emblem. Get on my level!
Yeah, he's out! Neckington Jr. Geek Bro is still looking for the kill here. He wants revenge for his team, but look at how far away from the minion wave they are. They've completely ditched this top tier 1 turret and are looking for the Tryndamere instead. And now they have to completely back because look at where Butler are. Look at where Butler is right now. The whole team is in the base. They are looking to end the game.
Neckington gets the lantern from Mojo to rotate to the middle. It's a 3 versus 5. The health values might be low, but they have explosive damage. Health values are actually quite significantly dwindling, but it doesn't matter. The damage is blowing it up. You had the mastery proc coming out from Neckington, but Carthago has done the same. It's 4 players from BU, but their healths are at critical positioning to have to bail out of this.
Yeah, they have a pretty big super wave, but it looks like Snickers and like Zach still want to fight. That's the Shirelius pop. Mojo Roma's in some trouble.
Does get the blast cone beautifully timed to make sure they get out of there and keep away from getting outmatched. And as we take a look at this, this is still a 5k gold differential. The Dragon Soul is quite a lot more when you tabulate that in, so I would say maybe the 5 to 6k range advantage in what it gives throughput-wise. And at this point now, Neckington is just going to constantly shove in, especially now that they've got all the time in the world with just a defensive positioning to keep this tower alive for Marquette.
Yeah, it's really going to be tough to do so, and I love what Butler is doing right there. Watch their pathing on the mini-map here. They're making their way towards this top half of the map, and now this is kind of different from what we saw from Georgetown earlier. Georgetown was pushing in through the mid where the inhibitor was already gone. Butler right now knows that they're going to have that the super waves pushing in the bottom and in the mid. They already know that those waves are going to force Marquette to answer there, so they're going to put all of their pressure up in this top half of the map, and now Marquette is answering properly.
There could be a potential collapse down to the middle position. Snickers out in the open. Ooh, Death Sentence does get blocked by the Krug, so that's a huge advantage to prevent that takedown, because that would have been game deciding if they got that pickup onto Snickers, who is their hard engager. And they rotate now up to the top position, looking to get this turret, making sure that they can eliminate it into the inhibitor. But now they're going to actually go a little bit further forward. Mojo Roma on the bottom position. Neckington now going to get rid of the inhibitor on the bottom position. We might just see what we had before. Instead of it being Levi, it's going to be Neckington, as both Mike and KO look to drop to the bottom position. 4 versus 3 in the top half. Nice bounty coming through to at least get some damage in an alternative lane elsewhere. But you've got Butler not wanting to overextend in this and find themselves at the disadvantage, and they back out.
Yeah, it looks like they're just making their way towards the Baron on the bottom half, and this might be the way for them to end the game. They're either killing Marquette in the team fight, or they're grabbing the Baron and ending the game, and it might just be them dying.
Levi comes in with a big orb and a scatter to knock them forward. You also have the Ragnarok completely gone. It's no longer available. Geeked is getting poked down to the backside. There's a nice heal, though, coming through to try and top them up. Not wanting to commit this ultimate. Another stun again. Snickers is being chunked. I'm taking a bite out of that bar because Snickers is sweet and tasty. And the focus fire here as this Baron's going to go over to Butler. A flash comes in. Neckington with the strong arm going in the backside. Having full rage to heal it out. Locked down into the stun. Can't escape, but the damage is already done. You've got the Baron online. The res comes back for an instant double kill, allowing Carthago to take it. They've got a little bit of time gap here with the cage on the front side, but this will be Butler closing in on the finale.
This is what Marquette, the only thing they have to hold on to right now is that Butler is still pretty low on some of their HP bars here. They do have an opportunity to sit inside the fountain, get healed up to full before the waves come in from Butler. But these waves are gigantic. 3 super minions total, 3 waves. They have to defend 3 waves and 4 champs. Calio gets the respawn, but look at that Nexus.
Flash forward to try and knock them back. It's not going to happen. What a worthwhile attempt. But my goodness, Butler right now comes out on top. What a miraculous game and display of performance here, really, as they close it out. It might have been 2-0s for our first series and this one, but my goodness, was it a friggin' exciting one.
Yeah, for sure. Both of these games were insanely competitive between all of the teams that have competed today. Marquette, absolutely incredible with the way that they've been responding to how Butler's been trying to play the game. They played really, really well, even though they lost here. You know, hats off to Marquette for sure. Really, really good. I don't think you should be really upset. Like, of course you lost, right? And you obviously would want the win, right? But you played so well this game. The drafts were good. The play across the map was really good, responding to Butler. But at the end of the day, there can only be one win, and man, Butler really deserves it.
Yeah, hold your heads high, Marquette, for realsies after that one. And just overall, what an amazing turn of events today. We are not just done yet, because the last thing we have to do before the end of the broadcast is we are going to be able to have an opportunity of speaking with Butler, one of their players, after those 2 back-to-back electrifying games, keeping us on the edge of the seat, and for me just leaning into my monitor. But let's say that we are going to have an opportunity. We will find out who that's going to be with in just a moment. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be getting that interview here in just a minute.